So this video will get you your first backend server created in Flask. So without wasting any time, let's start with it. So before implementing anything in Flask, let's first understand what is Flask and why Flask is used. So Flask is a lightweight backend framework in which you can create backend APIs like REST APIs quickly, and it's very lightweight and it's easy to use. Whereas if you want to create some complex application in backend in Python, the other options are Django, which is a whole set of framework with a lot of modules. So if you have to set up a basic Django project, it's a lot of code. Whereas in Flask, it's hardly 5 or 10 lines of code in which you can set up a basic server. But on the other hand, Django is more scalable, whereas Flask can be only used for lightweight projects. So let's implement a basic get and post request in Flask. So for that, let's go to the Flask docs. So this is the Flask documentation. Let's go to the quick start guide, and here we are on the quick start guide. So as you can see, they have created a basic Flask server, which is like a hello world program for anything, in under 5 to 6 lines. So we'll try to see how this is actually created and how it works. So first, let's create the virtual environment. So once the virtual environment is created, the first thing which you have to do is source the virtual environment and then install Flask. So as soon as you install Flask, in itself Flask comes with all the things covered which you will need for any basic website development. Even for HTML CSS, it gives you something known as Django, with which you can kind of modify the HTML content. So now the Flask is installed. Let's open the VS Code here. So now we have an open VS Code here. So first thing which we'll do is we'll create a first file, which will be main.py. So now we have a first file. Now let's copy this code and paste it here. So now if we run this code, let's try to run this code. You can see nothing happens because we have created a server, but we have not started it. We have just created it and we have just instructed it that there is a route /. So let's see how to start it. So one way is that from bash, so I can write flask run something. Let's give it a shot, flask run, and okay, it says the development server, do not use it in production, and it says debug mode is off, flask run, okay, and it could not locate Flask application. So it is not able to understand where my file is because it says either a wsgi.py or app.py. So if we move our file from main.py to app.py, most probably it should pick up. And if we now do Flask run, it starts the server. The other way to start a Flask server is, okay, so this file is now deleted, it has moved to app.py. So the other way of doing or running a Flask server from a script is like this. So we can create a initial point from where the script will run, and we can say something like app.run. So now if I just simply like how we run any other Python files, python3 app.py, it will start the Flask server. And we can see it has given us an API endpoint. If we go here and we click on enter, we can see it gives hello world, which was here. So if we change anything, hello world, how are you? We save it. We have to again restart the server, of course. And if we refresh this page, we can see the content is updated. Not just that. So if we go there and we kind of update the route, so we say, welcome. Again, we restart the server. We refresh this. Now it will give us 404 not found because we have moved our website or our one and only API endpoint from / to /welcome. So if we now go here and we write /welcome, we get the same thing there. Now this is from the browser. Now let's see. This is a GET request. When we use something from browser, we do a GET request. Now let's see how to do a POST request in Flask. Okay, so there is something known as methods. So let's give it a shot. So as we add methods, by default, if we don't add methods, the basic thing which is given is the GET request. Now let's add the only method possible is POST. So now what we are saying is that the only method which is allowed is a POST request. So now as we can see, it says method not allowed because we have kind of converted a GET request into a POST request. And here we can see the browser is making a GET request. So now if we copy this, we open a Postman and we paste it. So Postman is a tool which can be used to test, debug your API endpoints. And we do a POST request here. We change it from GET to POST. It works. So now your Postman is kind of simulating a POST request on top of our server, as here we can see. Now let's go one step further. Now why we could actually, we were doing get request and it was working. So now why are we doing post request, or when post request is mostly used? So let's import other thing which is known as request. So now when mostly post request, why we use, let's try it with an example. So I'll write request.json and I'm trying to just print it, nothing else. I'm just trying to print it. And now if I go to the body of our API endpoint and I say JSON, like here, and I pass here name is Prakhar. So imagine you're filling a form, or you are kind of creating a website and you fill a form and you click on save. Now where does those details, like how those details are saved? They are saved using a post request to a backend server, and then backend server take that data and put it into the database. So for example, right now I'm sending a data which is named as Prakhar, and you can see here it's printing that thing because we have kind of printed it here. So whatever I'll pass here, it will be kind of passed as a body to the API endpoint, and then from here we can take this data and do anything which you want to do with it. So let's simulate a simple get and post request just to understand how it works. So I'm creating a API endpoint which says, save name, let's say, and it will be a post request. And what we'll do is we'll kind of open a file which will be names.txt. I'm creating a file, I'm opening it, and I'm just simply dumping the request.json name, and I'm just, instead of like a message, I'll return now something known as status as true. So now what I have done is I have kind of changed the code to take the name which I am passing. Okay, it says not on the server, okay, because slash welcome is not there. So we have kind of moved it to slash name, and we can see it says status is true, and a new file is created which is names.txt, and here we can see the name is there. So if I change the name to Prakhar and I make the same request, the file updates with the new name. Now let's create another endpoint to fetch this name. So again we'll be able to write the same thing, app.route, and the route will let's give fetch name. So now we'll fetch the same name. Now methods is the method which is allowed is a get request. So I'm writing get, and I'm just closing it. Okay. Now we have to create a function. Now we can actually write any name to the function, but it's preferred to write, it's suggested to write the same name as your API endpoint so that it doesn't create any issues. And now what we'll do is we'll open the file. What was it? Names.txt as fl. We'll read the name equal to fl.read, and we'll return it back in the API with name and name. So now if you see here, what we have done is we have created an endpoint. We have said that the method is get, and we are reading the file which we were saving in the other endpoint. We are reading that file, we are reading the name, and we are sending it back. So now let's restart the server. Now save name is already there. Now let's kind of change it to fetch name. Fetch name, and we make a get request here, and we have to not send a body. Okay, it says 500 internal server. Let's see what it says. It says no such file directory name.txt, because it was names, and we are right now kind of querying name. So okay, now we have kind of updated the file name. Let's do a request. Yeah, and as you can see, it gives us Prakhar. So now if I kind of change it to save name, the body is raw JSON, and I say Roman, and now okay, because it's a post request, so it says status as true. Now I can just open a browser and I can say fetch name. It will fetch that same name and give it to me back. So that's a simple example of a get and a post request in Flask, and as you can see, we were able to do that in hardly 18-19 lines of code. If we want to replicate same thing in Django, it's a whole set of folders and files which we have to create, and then it kind of works. But in Flask, it's simple and it's fast, so mostly it's used when you have to kind of quickly create a server like we did, without any hassle of maintaining a whole backend framework.